Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat with Russ Tech. My name is Nick Russell, and I'm the owner of Russ Tech Media. So before we get into today's podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, I want to make sure that you hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell notification so you get notifications as soon as we publish our podcasts, which come out every Thursday morning to afternoon, depending on when we get a chance to put them out. So with that said, as well, if you're listening to this on Anchor, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever the case may be, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss an episode. All right, so let's get into this week's episode. And this week I want to talk to you about the power of social media. So I want to take you back quite a few years now. So it was probably around 2010-ish. At the time, I was using a phone by a company called Palm. A lot of you younger people may not remember Palm. When I was younger and a teenager, we used to have Palm Pilots, which were just handheld PDAs. They just basically had a calendar on there, notes, tasks, things like that. It was basically a smartphone without the ability to email, call, or text. And there were pretty much no apps, just what was built into that phone itself. So anyways, Palm came out with a phone it was called the Palm Pre, and it ran an operating system called WebOS. Well, at that time, Apple was just starting to become really big. BlackBerry was just kind of tailing off at that point. And then Android phones were starting to come out. And Palm just didn't have the money to compete with all these guys. HP bought them out and then killed them. So with all that happening, I had a phone that wasn't being supported by the company who started it. So there were no apps for this, and it was almost basically just calling and texting. You couldn't really do too much as apps were starting to die off very quickly. So I needed something new. I didn't know what exactly I wanted. I've never been a massive fan of Apple. I respect what they're doing. Their ecosystem, I'll still admit, is the best ecosystem between your phones, your tablets, your laptops, and things like that. Nothing will compete with that. But I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to go the Apple route with an iPhone. I wasn't quite familiar with BlackBerry at that time, and I had no idea what Android was. So I took my questions to Twitter, and basically I tweeted out with a couple hashtags asking for either the people that are already following me and anybody else that picked up on the hashtag. I asked, what smartphone are you using, and why is that something that I should use? I got a lot of responses, a lot of tweets back, a lot of DMs, and people were bragging about this phone, that phone, and the other phone. So I kind of compiled everything, and I did my research, and I was seeing what everybody said. And at that time, nobody said anything about BlackBerry. It was either, I don't know if it was a Samsung or what the phone was, but the Android operating system, and people are telling me about the Apple phones, the iPhones. So I was kind of comparing the two just to see where I was going next. And then I got a tweet from somebody that worked at RIM, which for those of you that know, some may not, but RIM was what BlackBerry was called before they changed their name to actual BlackBerry. So Research in Motion was the company, and then they built BlackBerry phones. So somebody that worked for RIM reached out and said, flat out, I'll tell you what, I will give you a Bold 9900 if you switch to BlackBerry. Now, at the time, that was the high-end business model phone. They had a couple of curves. They had the Storm, I think it was called. They had a few other models, but the Bold was the high-end phone. So how could I turn that down? It was a free phone. I was going to have to buy a brand new phone or extend the plan for 3-4 years at the time and pay minimal, but I was going to have to buy something. So all right, well, I'll give it a try. I didn't know a lot about BlackBerry. I knew they were very secure, and I knew they were the only phones that had a keyboard. Other than the sliding phones, like I know some Android phones have the slider on the bottom on the side. So I talked to him. He shipped me the Bold 9900, and that's when I fell in love with BlackBerry. Actually, if you look behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry. If you head to our website, www.rustechmedia.com/podcasts, the YouTube video is up there as well as on our YouTube channel. But behind me, there is, that's the actual phone. That was my first BlackBerry that is taken apart and put into a shadow box. And it sits here at my office. But from the moment I received it and started using it, I absolutely fell in love with BlackBerry. And I've had many BlackBerries since then. But with all of that said, that's how powerful social media is. So whether you're promoting your business, your own personal blogs, a podcast, whatever the case may be, there's so much you could do with social media. Now, the one thing that we're doing right now is we're promoting our BlackBerry networking event. So we'll throw this in there. If you are in the Windsor area on November 20th, time I'm recording this, it's in a couple weeks. By the time this podcast launch, it will be next week. So the following Tuesday, November 20th from 5 to 8 at the Chapter 2 Brewery on Edna Street, just off of Walker Road, just kind of south of Wyandotte Street. We are holding a networking event. Now, this is an open networking event for all entrepreneurs, business owners, anybody who wants to come out and network, have some craft beer, chit chat with everybody. But the bonus is we're going to have the guys from BlackBerry, BlackBerry Mobile. They're going to come down. They're going to have some of the new Key 2 and Key 2 LE devices that we're going to show off, so you can see what BlackBerry is all about. It's not the old school BlackBerry that you can't get anything. This is last year's model. This is the Key 1. So it does have a keyboard on it, yes, but this runs Android. So we're going to show off a few devices. And if you were at our last BlackBerry networking meetup, you'll remember we did something very special near the end of that networking event. So we just might do something this networking event. So to find out what that's all about, make sure you show up. The doors open at 5 o'clock. Chapter 2 is closed on Tuesday, so unfortunately can't go in before, but from 5 to 8, they're opening the doors for us to come by and have some craft beer, network. So make sure you bring your business cards. If you're a BlackBerry fan, bring your BlackBerry phone, an old phone to show off, whatever the case may be, and let's have some fun. So with that, we're going to cut this off short and get back to work here in the office. So thank you very much for tuning in. And remember, subscribe to our podcasts, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody.